Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another session for the subject e-commerce and internet marketing. I am your professor, Mr. Brian C. Asibuche, and today we are about to discuss the first chapter of this subject, which is information and communication technologies. Ngunit bago ang lahat, I would like to give you some important reminders. First, the study notebook. Okay, so as we go along with the session po, do not forget po na mag-prepare po kayo ng inyo pong study notebook. Okay, you can use first yung scratch papers ninyo, any form of scratch papers, and then as we go along with the lesson, with the discussion, susulat nyo po sa inyo pong scratch yung mga important information. And also, lahat po ng mga naisulat nyo sa scratch paper must be transferred into your official e-commerce study notebook. Okay? So at the end of the session, you will be asked to submit your study notebook. So isasubmit po yung study notebook po ninyo sa atin pong Google Classroom. Paano po? So pipicturean po ninyo yung bawat pages po ng inyo pong official study notebook. Make it sure organized, hindi po siya scratch. And once na picturean po, is punta po tayo dun sa atin pong Google Classroom. And then, makikita nyo po yun under ng classwork. Makikita nyo po yung study notebook number 1. So for the session 1. So i-attach nyo po dun sa ilalim, makikita nyo po yung add private comment, and then attach nyo po yung mga images po ninyo for study notebook number 1, and that will be your study notebook number 1. Graded po ito, ha. Ito po ay hindi po masasayang. Okay po, ito po ay mag-grade as your class standing. Since wala naman po tayong physical meeting. So we are actually meeting lang virtually. Kaya using this activity ay may ensure ko na kayo ay nagkakaroon po ng personal na pag-aaral, okay, with the subject. Okay? And at the end of the session, of course, we will be having our activity. Ang tawag po natin dyan is the performance task. Okay? So it will be answered via Google Classroom din po. Okay? And of course, we will be having our first online quiz at the end of the session. But for today, wala muna tayo niyan. So, next meeting po yan before we proceed to our next session. Okay? Okay, if you have questions regarding this matter, you can use the chat box para mamaya sasagutin ko po yan isa-isa. Okay? So, let's start with our part 1 ng chapter 1. Okay, so we will be discussing the changing landscape of the earth, the entry of various technologies, concept, basic functions, benefits of ICT, types of information, the notion of computer system, capabilities of ICT. Okay, so let's start with the first point, which is the changing landscape of the earth. Okay, so planet Earth has changed its face from what was once forested mountains and valleys of thinly populated human settlement areas to what is now a community of humans and developed regions as well as cities. So kung titignan natin ang history, talagang before naman ay puro tayo mga puno, walang masyado mga buildings. But look at today, talagang tataasan na ang mga buildings kahit sa mga urban areas, di ba po? While many rural or countryside areas remain agrarian in character, largely dominated by family-sized homes, many of them are now connected to electrical power lines, thus allowing the use of electromechanical devices, and some of them capable of doing home-based livelihood opportunities. The uses of these devices and machines make routine tasks and home chores less burdensome or promote convenience and enhance productivity, resulting to the so-called small-scale industries or micro enterprises. Okay, so in the urban centers and other industrial areas, landscape is totally different. Primary forests are gone, and if some portions are made to appear as green, man-made parks and plants are lined up in redesigned landscape, often using architectural and engineering intervention to allow a symbiosis of the past and the present. Kahit nga po dito sa atin po sa Valenzuela, 'di ba? Kung mapapansin natin dahil sa nag-uunlad ng mga businesses. And dito sa city natin talagang nag-uunlaran din ang mga negosyo, ang mga companies. 'Di ba? Minsan nakakamiss din yung mga rural areas, yung mga talagang kagaya dati na maraming mga puno, kung saan pwede kang mag-relax, kung saan pwede kang makapag-unwind. Kaya naman, 'di ba, sa atin sa Valenzuela meron tayong mga parks wherein you can experience a little version of rural areas in the city para at least pwede tayong makapagpahinga somehow, di ba? And more often, these urban centers are mushroomed with concrete-based structures and skyscrapers, as well as steel-based structures with electronic cable lines connecting them for its power and telecommunication needs. Even in the Philippines, 'di ba? Dati naman hindi lahat ng probinsya natin ay naaabot ng mga telecommunication lines, 'di ba? Talagang pupunta ka pa sa mga syudad para lang makasagap ka ng ng signal. But today, kahit sa mga probinsya, meron na rin silang mga towers wherein they allow us to connect, 'di ba, sa ating po mga telecommunication uh, companies. Kaya ang kanilang mga cellphone, pwede na silang matawagan kahit nasa probinsya sila. Though may mga ibang places pa rin talaga in the Philippines na hindi pa rin talaga naaabot ng mga ganitong klaseng teknolohiya. Okay, so during the last 2,000 years, humanity has witnessed a variety of inventions, innovations, and developments that have propelled its growth and have given mankind the convenience as well as comforts along with these negative effects that come with it. While there are pros and cons, it cannot be denied that in many ways, technologies have played a vital role in developing the utilization of human capacity to use its talents and skills to contribute in developing its environment. Why, right? The rapid growth and massive developments in the areas of computers and convergence with telecommunication technologies have brought forth what is known as the digital economy in the so-called the information age. And at the last quarter of the 20th century has shown humanity the use of its human talent and skills, leading to a variety of inventions and discoveries. And among these are inventions and innovation in the area of medicine and mechanical as well as electrical and electronic communications. So in particular, the developments in the area of electrical and mechanical engineering as well as electronics and communication technologies led to the development of computer known to be the greatest invention of mankind during the 20th century. And today, para ang hirap-hirap yata na mabuhay na walang computer, including your smartphones. Smartphones are also a form of computer. Okay, so you can see here an evolution of the digital economy. As shown in this image, the world has improved immensely from Stone Age era, though the documentation of its growth commenced in the agricultural economy era back in the 12th century. From the agrarian era recorded in the 12th and on the 16th century, some parts of the world moved on to become industrialized economies in the 18th century, as you can see in the image. And then in 1900s, yan nakikita nyo po sa ating screen, from industrial economy, the world transformed into service economy. And eventually, it transformed into global economy until 2000, until beginning of 2000, nag-start na po yung tinatawag nating digital economy at sa magpasa hanggang ngayon ay iyan pa rin po ang tawag natin ngayon sa economy natin ngayon. Okay? So the diagram in this that you see in this slide indicates a slow growth of development from the agrarian economy towards the industrial and service economy. So what is astonishing in this figure is the rapid phase at which the world has moved from global economy to what is now known as the digital economy. So while it took about 100 years for the agricultural era to the industrial age, it took only a matter of years for information and communication technology to reach a level of development and adoption as evidence in this image. Nakikita niyo, global economy and digital economy ay halos magkadikit. It's because ang development or invention ng computer, marami talaga nagbago simula nung nagkaroon ng computer. Kasi mas marami siyang nagagawa, mas napabilis ang mga activities, ang mga proseso, mapakaraming mga nabago. Now, I want you to look at this image. This one. Okay, so this one is an exhibit of the internet adoption rates versus other mediums. Okay. Okay, so kung titignan po natin dito sa atin pong larawan, yan, medyo umuuga yung aking screen. Okay, so the radio and television were introduced in the American market back in 1920s and 1950s respectively. The cable television was introduced in the 1980s and the internet technology in the 1990s. This figure and the next figure, which is a table of an elapsed time for some well-known mass communication technologies to reach 50 million users, however, revealed astonishing figures on the growth and level of adoption of cable and internet technology and television system. In the case of television system, which was introduced sometimes in 1950s, it took a lapse of about 13 years to reach a level of 50 million users. And cable TV, which was introduced in the 1980s, took only a lapse of about 10 years to reach a level of 50 million users. And surprising and meteoric is the growth and level of adoption of the internet technology, which was introduced only in the mid 1990s, as it took only a lapse of about 5 years to reach the level of 50 million users. Look at this image. Ayan. So, kung nakikita po ninyo, ayan. This table is based on Morgan Stanley writer, The Global Internet Primer, Volume 1, June 2000, page 12. So, this table shows the technologies and the first use, kung kailan sila unang nagamit, and until what year sila naka-reach ng 50 million users. So as you can see here in the radio technology, in 1922, unang-una itong nagamit. But reaching a 50 million users took this technology 41 years bago ma-reach. And that was in 1963. And the broadcast television naman was first used in 1950. And it reached 1963. It reached 50 million users in 1963. So it took 13 years before reaching 50 million users. And look, cable TV. In cable TV, 1976 was first used, and it reached 50 million users in 1986. And it took 10 years. It took 10 years para ma-reach yung 50 million users. And look at the commercial internet. The commercial internet was introduced in 1994, first used, and then 50 million users na-reach ito ng 1999. It took only 5 years para ma-reach ang 50 million users. Wherein the other technologies, it took about 41, 13, and 10 years bago ma-reach yung 50 million users. So that means talagang ang internet ay talagang ginagamit pa na noon. And marami tumatangkilik, it's because of the performance, because of the productivity na maraming magawa ang isang user, ang isang empleyado due to the power of the internet. Now, let's proceed to the concept of ICT. Okay, so as you can see here, I have attached an image of ICT versus IT. Medyo kasi minsan nagkakaroon ng misconception about the two. Kung alin nga ba ang ICT, ano nga ba ang IT. So today, susubukan nating i-test ang inyo pong mga ideas regarding this. Okay, so I will just give you a statement, and then on the chat box, isasagot nyo lang kung ICT or IT. Again po sasagot nyo po sa inyong chat box kung ICT or IT. So let's start with the first item. It refers to a collective and generic term that covers the broad range of systems, devices, hardwares, peripherals, as well as a variety of programs or software used in conjunction with computers and telecommunication devices in aid of doing electronic-based business transaction. Is it ICT or IT? I-comment po sa chat box ang inyong sagot. So the answer is, of course, the correct answer is ICT. Okay? So next, we have number 2. It is the use of information in association or coordination with computer technologies or hardware with link up and connectivity appeared to be set aside or given not much emphasis. Is it ICT or IT? The correct answer is IT. Okay, that is for information technology. Okay, when we say ICT, it stands for Information and Communication Technology, while IT is Information and Information Technology rather. Okay, so the information technology tandem has grown by leaps and bounds in the advent of convergence, has given more meaning and substance beyond information technology itself as productivity enhancement option. So the role played by the improvement in the telecommunication systems and the compatibility as well as link of information technology with telecommunication systems have resulted to be the change or the metamorphosis of the term information technology to information and communication technology. So there is a lot of difference in inserting or fusing the word communication into information and communication technology, owing the concept of the link up that resulted to a real-time transmission of the information and borderless scenario that ICT has brought forth. So the rapid growth of ICT has fired up the development and the popular use of e-commerce or e-business practices in a global context, for which reason the many authors uh, finds it proper or appropriate to refer it or to refer to ICT as fundamental or essential for e-commerce business transactions. That's why kagaya nga kanina, kung naalala nyo yung ating diagram kaganina, so the the release of computer really changed everything. Napakaraming na bago, especially in the business uh, sectors or in business world. Mapakaraming mga nabago. That's why ang ICT is considered ng marami as one of the business strategy nila. Why? Napakaraming reason nga. At kagaya nga ng mga ilang nabanggit na natin. Now, let us see kung bakit nila ito kino-consider as one of their business strategies. Of course, we have to see the basic functions of ICT. So, para mas lalo pa natin itong makita. So, as you can see in the diagram, the ICT functions, according to author Sen, are the following. We have the capture, process, generate, store, and transmit. Store, including yung retrieval or yung pag-access ng data. Okay, so let's define each. Okay, so in capture function, it takes the form of a task that is done by way of using devices like scanners and cameras, thus allowing the storage of vital data and information for future use. So what are the examples of this activity? Okay, in capture function. So let's say, for example, whenever a book is borrowed and checked of a out of a computerized library, the name or the identification number of the borrower and the title or yung tinatawag ng call number ng libro are captured at the stage the librarian points a scanning device to a barcode information embedded or pasted on the book's front cover. So, di ba? That is a capture function. Instead of writing the information which took a lot of time, maybe a minute or two. So with the use of ICT, just scan. 'Di ba nakikuha na lahat yung mga information. Just scan the barcode or the QR code kung ano man ang available ginagamit sa library. Now, using a device linked to computer or much simpler device, pulse, heart rate, blood, and pressure are obtained and monitored among hospital patients. Kahit nga hindi sa hospital, ngayon nga may mga wearable devices na that is able to capture yung blood pressure, 'di ba? So mas napapabilis. Okay, what else? What else pa? When a performer does a live show, the entire performance or a part of it is captured by the audio system. Pumapasok doon sa kanilang mga audio system and also doon sa kanilang mga video cameras, then transferred later to a storage device. So that is capture function. What else? The voice and data recorders in aircraft captures the pilot's conversations and record flight data. So yung mga ganong example, like also itong ginagawa ko ngayon, this microphone captures my voice ah, para alin? To store the data as part of this video for future use. Okay, so that is capture function. Another example is mga company ngayon, 'di ba, kapag sila ay papasok sa trabaho. Dati, although ngayon naman may mga gumagamit pa din ng mga tinatawag na punch cards o kaya yung tinatawag na daily time record. Ngayon, most of the companies are using biometrics. So with the use of the capturing device nila wherein ika-capture yung anong tawag dito, fingerprint, nakukuha no, yung fingerprint mo iko-compare dun sa recorded fingerprint mo sa kanila para malaman na ikaw yung present at pumasok ng araw na yon. So that is a capture function. Okay? So what else? The next function of ICT is called the processing function. So it entails converting, analyzing, and synthesizing all forms of data or information. So as you capture the data from the user, ano pong next? Of course, ipaprocess, i-analyze ngayon yan ni computer para alin? Para magamit into a form of an information, a valuable information. It involves the transformation of any type of information into a different type of information. Like for example, if you have used your fingerprint as attendance nila sa kumpanya, and then the company or let's say the human resource department will process, of course with the help of the computer, will process the data into a valuable information. So anong format? In what sorry, in what form? In a form na report document na nakasulat kung sino po ang mga pumasok nung araw na yon. Wherein captured also the exact time of entering and exiting doon po sa premises ng kumpanya. Information processing may come in a variety of ways, namely word processing, image processing, and voice processing. So ano po yung pagkakaiba ng mga ito? When we say word processing, it involves the creation of text-based documents, including reports, newsletters, and correspondence. So, the most familiar sa atin na mga word processor ay yung, of course, Microsoft Office Word. So, what else? Google Docs. And also your notepad. Yan, siguro ginagamit nyo yung notepad para sa mga scratch. Okay, you can see, those are an example of word processing application. And we also have the so-called the image processing. So, what is image processing? So, it includes converting visual information o ano yung visual information, graphics, drawing, what else, photos. So i-convert yung mga ito into a format that can be managed within the computer system or transmitted between people and other computers. So ang example po nito yung mga image processing function is scanning. So once na na-scan yung isang picture or let's say drawing, diba? The paper-based drawing will be converted into a digital format. So pinrocess from the hard copy and then in-scan para magkaroon ng digital copy ng inyo pong picture or image. So when we say digital copy, it is the soft base o yung soft copy na tinatawag natin madalas. Okay? What else? Voice processing. So, in voice processing naman, it involves transformation and transmission of the spoken information. Kagaya po nung itong sample recording ko na ito, nire-record yung boses. Okay? And frequently entered into a computer system through maybe in a telephone, but other systems that enable people to speak directly into a computer system to instruct it to take specific actions are emerging. So that is voice processing. At marami pa po yan. Ano-ano pa po yan? We also have the generation function. So, after capturing, next is processing, and then now is the generation function. Okay, so it refers to the organization of data and information to a useful form, whether as numbers, text, sound, or visual image. And normally, may involved na ng function o manipulation na dito ng tao. Okay? Bakit? So, ang example po nito ay once na, for example, nagtatabulate tayo ng mga questionnaire data into processable format such as mga Excel format. Okay? Ano pa? Example po nitong generation function is when you download data or information from the internet sources. Okay? Ano pa? Creating tables and graphs based dun sa given data. So, that is generation function. Okay? And after generation function, the next is, of course, storage and retrieval function. From the word storage, so itinatabi. And from the word retrieval naman, it means kinukuha, yung naitabi, or ina-access. Okay, so the storage function enables computers to keep data and information for later use. And mostly ginagamit natin yung mga storage devices such as your personal computer's storage, yung ating mga flash drive, yung ating pong mga memory cards, and ating pong mga hard drives or external hard drives. O kaya naman yung ating mga online storage devices such as Google Drive. Okay, and after a storage function, the next will be the retrieval, either storage or retrieval. So the retrieval function entails locating and copying stored data or information for further processing or for transmission to another use. So that's why kapag nagre-retrieve tayo, it's either kinakopy lang natin yung files, yung information, o kaya naman itinatransmit or tinatransfer natin ito into another user by sending, maybe by sending um, the information using emails or messenger and something like that. Of course, nasa transmission na rin naman tayo. The next function is transmission function. So transmission function, it allows sending data and information from one location to another. So the two common forms of information transmission are electronic mail and voice messaging. So ito po yung part o yung stage wherein tayo ay nagsisend ng atin pong mga information or data or files using messenger, using voice messages. Transmission function. Okay? Ngayon nga, meron na rin, di ba? Aside from the text-based or voice-based na mga transmission, meron na ring video, di ba po? Kasama na po yan ngayon. Now, let's proceed to the benefits of ICT. So, bakit nga ba ito, sabi ko nga kaganina, bakit nga maraming company ang nagko-consider ng paggamit nga po ng ICT? Bakit maraming silang bakit maraming benepisyo ang paggamit o pag-consider ng ICT as a business strategy ng isang kumpanya? Ano po ba ang nai-offer? Ano po ba yung naibibigay ni ICT sa isang business? Oh, wait, namatay yung aking ilaw. Namatay na naman. For a while. Okay. So the first is, may echo. Okay. So the first is, of course, the speed. Okay, when you say speed, of course, yung ability ng isang tao, ng isang machine or the computer to perform task, multiple task rather. Okay, mabilis na hindi nagsasuffer yung quality, right? Speed is directly associated with computers and ICT depending on the hardware specification. Depende rin naman din sa computer kung yung specification ng computer is capable to perform multiple tasks at the same time. Speed of computing tasks can be as fast as split seconds. Okay? Like for example, your boss asks you to create a report, o kaya naman sabihin nating a letter, um, and then ikaw, kung traditionally gagamit ka ng bond paper and ng ball pen, and it took a lot of time doing that kasi maybe you have to prepare your bond papers and your pens and also your writing skills. While kung meron tayong computer, just type it. Minsan may mga templates na i-edit na lang yung pangalan and print, that's it. Mapakabilis. Mas mabilis pa sa ating mga inaasahan. So that is one of the benefit, yung speed. Di ba nga minsan, while you are listening to computer's audio, nakakapag gawa ka pa ng mga presentations. Kasi capable si computer to perform multiple tasks. Okay? And another benefit of ICT is what we call the consistency. Pag sinabing consistency, that means tuloy-tuloy. Yung performance niya kahapon is the same performance today. Okay? People often have difficulty doing repetitive and monotonous actions. Sa atin, minsan ganun, kapag paulit-ulit yung ginagawa, minsan nagiging kinatatamaran na lang ng tao na gawin at gawin at gawin yung bagay na yun. Wherein si computer, hindi. Bakit po? Doing a particular task is exactly as it was seconds, minutes, and hours ago is too difficult, if not impossible, for an ordinary or even highly gifted individual. The good thing about computer, hindi siya kagaya ng tao na minsan kapag pagod na tayo sa trabaho, naapektuhan yung ating productivity. Kaya hindi tayo nagiging consistent sa ating performance. While the use of ICT in the business, since consistent siya in a way na hindi affected ang kanyang emotions kasi wala naman siyang emotions. Okay? The only thing na gagawin niya is to process the data or information into a valuable information without affecting the quality. Matay na naman yung ilaw. Okay. Now, we also have precision. So, ano naman yung precision? Okay, so precision is another aspect of unmatched by human, particularly in doing a multiple of simultaneous tasks or a number of products or services at a given time. Minsan kasi sa trabaho, di ba, hindi lang naman dalawa, tatlo ang pinoproseso natin at minsan marami pa. Tapos napakaraming deadline sa same day lang. So, minsan nagsasuffer yung quality. Minsan nagsasuffer yung content. So, with the use of ICT, ang ICT naman ay precise when it comes to this matter. So in addition to being fast and consistent, computers are extremely precise when given specific instructions. They can detect minute differences beyond what the human eye can see. Okay? And of course, benefits of ICT is reliable. It's reliability. So reliability is another benefit that can be expected from computers given the appropriate work environment the machines deserve. So given logical instructions contained in the software program consistently and precisely, so one can expect reliable results. That is, one can depend on getting the same results over and over again. Kung minsan ang nahihirapan magtiwala si boss dahil baka mamaya nagkakamali tayo sa ganito, sa ganyan. But the use of ICT, mas masasabi natin, reliable ang ICT. Okay? So, let's see naman the types of information. Minsan nalilito tayo, di ba? Ano ba yung pagkakaiba ng information sa data? Okay, but in the context of e-commerce of this subject, okay, so iisa-isahin natin ito para hindi tayo malito. Okay, so when we say data, these are, before data, what is an information muna? You can use the chat box to share your answers, your thoughts. For you, what is information? So, mamaya sasagutin natin yun. Okay, so data. So when we say data, these are raw facts or raw figures and details. And they can be in the form of numbers. What else? Diba? Like for example, pumunta si boss, pumunta sa inyo. Sa ilan pa yung natitira nating budget sa ganito. So ang bibigay mong sa kanya ay number lang, 'di ba? Pero normally process na. Like what if naman ganito? For a day, meron tayong collection ng ganito. So yung let's say 200 pesos is the collection, is the collected amount for the day, specific name ng tao. So yung mga binabanggit ko, those are data. Pero once for example, na lahat ng data that day has been recorded and nag-create na tayo ng report, and the total na yung total amount nung collection for the day, so nakakabuo na tayo ng valuable information, right? So we can say that today we have a total collection of ganito and ganyan. Okay? What else? We also have the text. So from the word text, these are it comes in the form of written information, which may be typewritten, pwede ring printed sa printer, or handwritten. So those are the example of text. Okay? So of course, image, hindi naman na siguro kailangan pang i-explain. It is a form of information in a visual format. Okay? While sound naman, it refers to the spoken word or spoken information that is pwedeng recorded or pwedeng instantly na captured. So that is sound. Now ano po yung ibig sabihin ng information? So we can say that an information is a processed data. Process text, process image, process sound in order to create valuable and reasonable content, or let's say truths or facts. Ayan na po si information. Okay? And let's see the notion of computer system. So these are the components of computer system. Ano mga po yung bumubuo sa computer system? Of course, pag tinignan natin si computer, alam naman natin merong monitor, merong system unit, merong ganito, ganyan. Pero in the context of e-commerce, okay, the notion of computer system are the following. Ano-ano kaya itong mga nakikita ninyo? Okay, so let's begin with the first component. So we have hardware. Okay, so it serves as the heart and soul of a computer system that serves as the unifying agent to be able to handle and process data information in a most expeditious and accurate manner. So pag sinabi nating hardware, these are the tangible parts of computer. Kagaya ng monitor, keyboards, mouse, Storage devices, those are the hardware components ng isang computer system. Okay? And we also have, of course, the people. So, anong function ni people sa computer system? So, this refer to the human aspect of the system that use and operate the hardware, including the parties who develop the program or software that makes the hardware or the computer an extremely useful device in the conduct of business or any process. Anyone can do it in planet Earth and beyond it. So in short, these are the users of the computer. So maybe you are the programmer, the accountant who are recording the transactions, ano pa, the personnel dun sa mga restaurants who are using TPS. Those are example of the people as the users ng computer system. We also have programs. So ano naman ang programs? So what are programs? So when we say programs, it includes the software or instructions that enable the optimal use of the component parts of the hardware, thus allowing them to deliver outputs for specific work application in various industries or sector of the economy. So, other term for programs, ito po ay software. Kung kaganina may hardware, ito naman ay software. So, ibig sabihin, pag sinabi nating programs, ito po yung mga software na nakikita nating naka-installed sa atin pong mga computer devices. Those are programs. And of course, aside from programs, meron din po tayong tinatawag na mga procedures. They include the rules and policies and protocols that need to be observed or followed to be able to use the hardware and software in a manner that makes the functioning of the computer system in an orderly and efficient fashion. So without policies, anong gagawin ni computer? So parang tayo po, pwede tayong sabihin natin pumasok sa school, uniform tayo, pero without knowing the rules, hindi po natin alam kung paano tayo papasa. Okay? So, si procedure ang nag-a-assign o nagbibigay ng complete package of information kay computer kung hanggang saan at para saan gagamitin ang mga bagay-bagay such as mga activities sa computer. Okay, so those are policies and the protocols that need to be observed or followed. Like for example, kung example ng procedures po ito For example, nag-submit tayo ng isang document like Microsoft Word. Of course, the procedure, ang protocol, kung Microsoft Word yan, dapat word processor din, ang word processing application yung mag-open sa kanya. Ano po ibig sabihin ng mga word processing application? Kagaya ng binanggit ko kaganina sa mga previous slide. Pag sinabing word processing application, these are applications that enables the users to input text or other form of information that can be printed. Kaya nga word processing. So, kadalasan ito yung mga nakikita natin sa Microsoft Word, mga napiprint. Halimbawa, ang information na isinubmit sa atin ay voice. So, enough ba si Microsoft Word to process the given data or given information? Of course not. Nakuha po. So, ang policy or ang protocol, so dapat same kung word processor siya at Microsoft Word, dapat doon sila sa parehas na category para ma-open yung information. While kung si word processing ang gagamitin mo para mag-open ng isang recording video or recorded audio, it will not happen. Nakukuha po natin. So may other software para po dyan. So ganun po kumikilos si procedures. Yun na po ang function ng procedures in terms of the computer system. Of course, the notion of computer system has information. Okay, so what is an information? So this refer to the various forms or types of information that are fed into the hardware to be to be processed by the people or the users using specific software to be able to arrive at the desired specific output in the pursuit of business objectives. So those are the 5 notion of computer system. So ulitin natin, we have the hardware, people, programs, procedure, and information or the processed data. Now, we are in the last subtopics ng chapter na to, which is the capabilities of ICT. Ano-ano naman yung mga kakayahan kayang gawin ni ICT? Of course, we have the transactional, geographical, in terms of analytical, informational, sequential, knowledge management, tracking, and disintermediation. So, isa-isahin po natin yan. So, the first is transactional. Okay, so what do you mean by transactional? So information technology or IT can transform unstructured processes into routine transactions. One of the ICT capabilities is to transform unstructured processes into routine transactions. For example, IT can support an admission decision process by building an what by building a predefined minimum admission application screening process with the use of automated system. So, like for example, kung tayo po ay online enrollment, kung mag-access tayo sa online enrollment, 'di ba kung ano po yung kinasanayan natin sa traditional form where pipila ka ng pagkahaba-haba and the terms, 'di ba, may mga assessment and so on and so forth. So meron din ganun sa ICT. Kung i-convert natin yung transaction into a digital base or digital transactions. So ganun din, the difference is walang masyadong face-to-face at mas mabilis. Tama? Kasi ang nagpa-process hindi tao kundi si computer. Nakukuha po natin. That is transactional. Another capability of ICT is in terms of geographical. IT can transfer information with rapidity and is across large distances, making processes independent of geography. So, the good thing about ICT, hindi na nga natin kailangan mag face to face, ika nga, 'di ba? Kasi bakit po? Uh, Regardless of geographical location, we can communicate. We can transfer information using email or other transferring application. So hindi na kailangan ng magkikita pa or let's say a human messenger para sabihin yung ganitong importanteng bagay. So with the use of technology or ICT as business strategies, napapagaan yung trabaho, lalo na kung malalayo yung mga pupuntahan. Like for example, if it requires you na magpunta ka sa isang place or even a country, 'di ba? The development of wide area network helps. 'Di ba, nakakatulong sa atin. So ngayon, hindi na kailangan mag-meeting ng physically. Meron ng mga online conferencing para iganap yung meeting. Hindi nakaatin yung ganitong client, pwede siyang i-meet online. So mas napapabilis at mas nakakatipid kung tutuusin, kung titignan po natin yung aspeto ng bagay na iyan. In terms of analytical naman, IT or information technology can bring complex analytical methods to bear in process. So what do you mean by that? Or example, let's say for example, an American Express designed an expert system for credit authorization that capitalizes on the knowledge and experience of expert credit authorities and applies expert analytical support for the budgetary analytical process. Even si ICT, pwede na rin siyang somehow yung tinatawag nga nilang mga not the expert but the specialist na nagbibigay ng mga advice, capable na makita yung mga what if scenarios, 'di ba? So computer can also uh, able to perform such activities. How about informational? So it means IT can bring vast amount of detailed information into process. Na hindi sumasakit ang ulo, na hindi nagdadabog, di ba? Na hindi nagkakaroon ng away sa loob ng office. So, si computer is able to process multiple amounts of information nang sabay-sabay. Okay? And in terms of computing or ganito sa business, okay yung ganon, yung pinagsasabay-sabay yung mga trabaho. Okay? Hindi yung ibang bagay ang pinagsasabay-sabay. Okay? Ako napunta. Of course, another capability of ICT is sequential. So when you say sequential, IT can enable changes in the sequence of tasks in process, often allowing multiple tasks to be worked simultaneously. So for example, the redesigning of a new product designed and manufacturing process at Xerox was made possible through the design of a centralized database of product design specification, which could be updated and referred to during various stages of product development process rather. Right? We also have the knowledge management. Okay, so what is knowledge management? Information technology allows the capture and dissemination of knowledge and expertise to improve the process. So the good example is, for example, the use of group support systems, yung mga ganyan, including yung mga electronic mails, computer-based meeting system, yung mga online conferencing, and are example of that. It provides opportunities for the sharing of meeting or the minutes of the meeting, the agenda, and historical information on business plans and activities. Another capability is the what we call the tracking. Okay, so information technology allows the tracking of the task status, inputs and outputs. So natatrack niya yung mga status, yung inputs and outputs. Di ba minsan tayo kapag mayroon tayong si boss, monitor niya yung ating mga activities in the work. Kaso hindi accessible or hindi available yung person due to the, let's say, telecommunication network problems before, 'di ba? Kasi medyo mahina pa dati until ngayon in the setup sa Philippines. So with the ICT ay mas napapabilis natin yung pag-monitor ng mga ganyan, yung pag-track ng mga activities, the status of the recent projects, yung mga ganyan, the inputs and outputs ng mabilis. Okay? And the last capability is disintermediation. Okay, so when we say disintermediation, IT can connect two parties within a process that would otherwise communicate through an intermediary. For example, many applications in electronic commerce are eliminating the middleman. Okay, kasi using the internet-based facilities, Customers can order computers, t-shirts, what else? Office supplies, and a vast array of other products and the services over the World Wide Web. So meron involvement ng two parties para dun sa mga activities na yan. Like wala na yung kung nandoon tayo sa sales, let's say for example, dun sa isang mall, bumibili ka, merong explain sa iyo, 'di ba, na tao. So kung ikaw yung employer, babayaran mo 'yon. So with the use of ICT, like for example, meron kang e-commerce platforms. And the e-commerce platforms enables to discuss, 'di ba? To inform the customer about the product. Minsan mas ano pa nga mas kapani-paniwala yung pag-present ng technology based kaysa dun sa sa tao kasi minsan nga sabi ko kaganina, hindi siya naaapektuhan emotionally. Okay, pero si ICT ay mas nakakapag-present sa mga ganong pagkakataon. Minsan with the power of multimedia, mas magiging effective, 'di ba? Yung pag-share. Kaya nga kaya nga minsan tayo, 'di ba? Dahil lang sa nakita natin na sale yung ganito sa isang e-commerce platform like Shopee and Lazada, and then parang in a moment of an hour pwede mo lang siyang bilhin. So, ang tendency, iisipin mo, naku, kailangan bumili na ako kasi kung hindi, matatapos ng oras, hindi ko ma-avail. So, the power of ICT actually nakaka-impact siya doon sa mga users na minsan mas napapabili sila agad dahil sa kakayahan ng ICT. And those are the positive capabilities of ICT. Now, if you have questions regarding the things that we have discussed, you can comment that on the chat box, and I am more than willing to give you valuable answers regarding that. Okay? Okay, so that ends our part 1 for the chapter Information and Communication Technologies. We will be discussing the part 2 on the next session. Okay? So let me just give you the performance task for today. This will be our activity. So kunin nyo yung pagkakataon na tong oras na to hanggang 4 o'clock to submit or to finish this activity. Hanggang 4 p.m. lang po. So what is this performance task all about? So on the private comments section below, dun sa atin pong Google Classroom, makikita nyo po yung performance task number 1. So click nyo po yung performance task number 1. And on the private comment section below, answer the following issues for discussion and deliberation. So, the first is briefly discuss the concept of information and communication technology. So, that will be 5 points. And for number 2, enumerate and describe the functions of information and communication technologies. So, that will be 18 points and plus 2 points if your answers is stated in a paragraph form and proper usage of grammar. Number 3, differentiate image processing from voice processing functions of ICT. Okay, so that will be for number 3. And for number 4, the question is, why should business organizations consider adopting information and communication technology as part of their business strategy? You must answer in your own words po, hindi po yung kopyahin nyo lang po yung kung ano yung nakita nyo sa taas. Kung ano po yung nakita nyo sa mga screenshot po ninyo. No, use your own words to discuss number 1, to describe the number 2, and to differentiate number 3. And of course, in answering number 4. And for the bonus question, ewan ko na lang, hindi nyo pa ito makompleto. This will be 15 points. Attach an image of yourself doing performance task and a screenshot of our discussion today in Google Meet. So the student must be visible in the image po. Pag nag-screenshot, kita dapat ang student. And then that will be 15 points only if you complete this number 5 activity. And 0 for incomplete and no response. So ang option lang is either 15 or 0. Okay, so doon na kayo sa 15. Madali lang naman siya gawin. Okay, and yan po ay i-comment nyo din po sa private comment section ng performance task number 1 sa Google Classroom. Okay? And paano po kayo mag-gradean? So, ito po yung atin pong criteria for grading. You can screenshot para at least mas makita ninyo kung paano kayo g-grade. So, the ideas, the organization. Ayan. So, those are the things na i-measure sa inyo pong pagsagot. Okay? Now, if you have questions pa din po, you can still ask a question sa ating pong Google Meet chat box, and after this video that will be answered naman. Okay? Now, if you don't have any question, that ends our discussion for today. I will be discussing part 2 on the next session. Okay? See you on the next video.